What's going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Saturday, January the 18th, a playoff Saturday in the NFL, a Saturday where we're going to break down some SmackDown. We've got the UFC. We've got all kinds of good sports going on, and we're glad you're here with us while we talk SmackDown. I've got a wicked crew riding with me. I've got one of the usuals and a new face. So I'm stoked. I'm going to introduce him to you really quickly. First and foremost, let's keep this one in the continental United States. Send it right across the country here from Southern California to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Good friend of mine, head of opinions, Anthony Ricciardi. Happy Saturday, my friend. How are you doing?
How you doing? It's been a little while. No, it's always fun to do these, as we get into SmackDown. And, it's always fun when it's somebody's first show. So I'm very much looking forward to being a part of that for our next guy.
No doubt about it. Get your hands in the air and start clapping. It's a debut episode for one of our favorites, opinion writer. Been looking forward to him being on the show for a very long time. Send this one all the way across the pond to a good friend of mine, Archie Carter. Welcome to the show, my friend. Happy Saturday.
Yes, great start. Thank you very much, mate. I'm looking forward to making my debut. I've been working at Wrestling Republic for just over 3 years now, and now is the time to make my debut. It's a long time coming, but yeah, I'm excited to talk about a very good SmackDown episode. So
absolutely, Archie, and fired up to have you here. And it's funny because I always forget you've been here for 3 years. I think you've been here longer than me, if you think about it. I think I'm at 2.5 at this stage or something like that, which you got to love, but we're stoked to have you. Of course, let's get right into our first topic though. Like you said, it was a fun SmackDown. We got some good stuff here. We got KO, delusional KO. In the words of Rey Mysterio, I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Rey said it. We were in the 619. We've also got Rey Mysterio. How could you not? In his hometown, essentially, right? Adopted hometown, if you'd like, given the Tijuana background as well. But Mr. 619 himself in the 619 is always great to see. San Diego Sports Arena is a super fun venue. I actually got to run into Tommy Dreamer and Hornswoggle at the Chili's that's located directly in the parking lot of the Sports Arena one time. Little known fact about me. But do always love seeing shows there. Shame I couldn't make it down yesterday, but either way, Rey's there. He declares for the Rumble. Kevin Owens wants a match against him for the title. Rey lets him know, dude, you're not even actually the champion. Kevin, not having that. There's some funk throughout the night. I liked this. I love Rey Mysterio. I love him in San Diego, but it is interesting to me. This is probably going to be followed up later. Not in San Diego. If it has the same steam next week, I'll be curious to see. But I do want to get both of you guys' thoughts on the interaction and everything to do with Rey and KO. I'll start with you, Anthony. What were your thoughts on it?
I mean, listen, Rey Mysterio is such a legend, a GOAT of the Lucha Libre and of wrestling. So you kind of figure Rey might not have that much more left in the tank at this point. So every appearance by Rey is a big deal. And, Kevin Owens is around our age, at least Clark and I for sure. And, he grew up watching Rey. Rey's one of those legends that he wants to be in the ring with. So anytime you're able to do that, yeah, I know the brand split thing, but they kind of ignore that. So who really cares? It's a moment. I'm fine with it. Kevin Owens is the perfect person to play the delusional that I'm the champion when he really isn't. And him carrying the Winged Eagle, the title that Cody famously said for years that that's the title he wanted. And he only got to hold it the one time when he came out with it. And Kevin Owens is walking around with it. I think it's a smart move. As this continues to go on, they're going to get the ladder match next Saturday for main event. Shawn Michaels is going to be in the contract signing next week. And they have to give the belt. And it's going to be kind of cool to see Shawn hold the Winged Eagle again, because he has not held that title physically in his hands since he lost it at WrestleMania 14 to Austin over 25 years ago. So it's really wild to see that, it just as a whole, from historical standpoint, it's kind of cool.
I could not agree more. And it's funny because you do mention like the Austin at 14 is the last time he held it, but I always picture the boyhood dream WrestleMania 12.
Yes.
Him holding it for the first time That's the lasting image of Michael's career in my eyes, especially because it was my first wrestling show. Like, truthfully, it didn't get any better than that for me. I'm really, really, really excited to see what happens with this Kevin Owens storyline. I don't know necessarily, other than the one-off last night, if Rey needed to be overly involved. And that's no knock on Rey Mysterio. I loved the idea of getting him in the Rumble, but it felt like we were doing quite a few things at once. Were you satisfied with the segment, Archie? Or would you have gone about it a different way yourself?
No, I thought the segment was really good. I really enjoyed it. I think having Rey, I'm not a fan of wrestlers kind of announcing themselves for the Royal Rumble, except from maybe the obvious ones, like we had Roman Reigns last week and Rey Mysterio this week, and it made sense with being in San Jose. This whole segment added to KO's heel character, and once again we got the Sami Zayn kind of hint where they've kept Sami and KO from interacting with each other, which is a smart move. And where he said his them best friends. So yeah, that's quite interesting. And then it turned into the match, and I really enjoyed the match because the thing is about this is it's quite cool because Kevin Owens did an interview before Saturday night's main event before his match with Cody Rhodes. And he got asked by the interviewer, what else in wrestling does he have to...
There. You good?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Sorry about that. That was weird. Continue. Sorry. I don't know what happened there. That was a little glitch.
No, anyway, sorry. So basically, KO said that if he can do these 3 things before he retires, then he'll be happy. And that's have a one-on-one match with Finn Balor at WrestleMania, which is one of his best friends in the business. Team with Becky Lynch in a mixed tag team match, and the last one was wrestle Rey Mysterio. So for him to kind of be able to check something off that list last night must have been really cool for him. And it was a fantastic match. KO and Rey have fantastic chemistry. And I've been watching Rey Mysterio for years, and it just always amazes me how timeless Rey Mysterio is. I mean, for a man his age and someone that's had, multiple surgeries on his knees, he has no right to be moving the way he does in that ring. So the whole segment and the whole match, that whole portion of SmackDown last night, I was very much enjoyed.
Same. I did enjoy it as well. I think the Rey thing, to your point, Kevin looped it in himself as well, and that was very helpful. You mentioned something else, though, that I did want to briefly talk about, and that's the Sami Zayn aspect of this.
Yeah.
And I think there's an alternate universe, though, where it makes sense that Sami's the only one that believes Kevin's BS. And that could have been a fun road to go down. I don't think that's the route we're going to go this time in the least, right? He's going to be like, Kevin, this isn't you, blah, 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 right? And I'm fine with that, too. There's a story to be told there as well. But I think it would be funny because something that never got paid off that I did truly enjoy was Sami Zayn and the conspiracy theorist angle. And they never released the documentary, WWE. I want to see it. It's a conspiracy against him, and we all know it. And I would love it if somehow that could have been looped back into this. It does not seem like that's the future, but you did make me think of that. They've kept Sami away for a long time. What if he comes over and he's like, look, you're the champion, and just buys it, fully buys it? I mean, that would be fascinating, right? And it's a fun thing you can do in pro wrestling. And Sami and Kevin are both just good enough. Kevin's got us convinced he's delusional. We're not sitting here like, oh, he's playing coy, he's one step ahead. No, he's like a step sideways. He's freaking out, right? He's having a manic episode, all but. You know what I mean? Like he can't fathom that he was robbed of the victory, and he believes he's the real champion, and he's carrying the winged eagle around, and he's on this big vendetta trip, and there's something there, I think, for sure. The Sami aspect is very interesting because it does smell like Sami needs to be involved in this storyline somewhere down the road. And I'm glad you brought that up, Archie. No question about it. But let's keep it rolling here on this one. We've got another fun topic coming up right now. And I was more excited about this than I expected because the stare down, I thought, really actually did manage to live up not a lot of people can stand opposite Jacob Fatu and make him look normal sized. Braun Strowman is one of those people. And yes, it didn't get paid off. I kind of like that it was teased. I feel like we actually don't do that often enough, where you got the classic, the immovable object, unstoppable force scenario in the ring, and then you eventually actually do get the bum rush and the lockup and the punches and all of that. I like the idea of like, here's some fresh baked cookies, but they're not for you today. Every now and again, just to sort of start to build some momentum. And it didn't take much. LA Knight joining the fray, I don't mind. I don't mind the idea of LA Knight and Strowman even teaming for some time. I think you can do a lot for both. They've both been in the main event scene, but never really fully gotten over the hump, other than that Braun Strowman's the only person ever to essentially squash Goldberg. that was the one time he fully got over the hump. And unfortunately, due to the circumstances of the pandemic, no one was there to see it. Or there was like, 5 people watching. Unfortunately for Braun, I think a tag run between the two, I'm actually cool with if they're going to go that route. I like the idea of them sort of, we don't know each other, but I've got your back against the bloodline. That would be cool. That would be cool because I don't know if the future, yes, LA Knight's still sort of tied up in this Nakamura thing, but let's get him away from the US title. That was a fun time while it lasted. And at least that's my opinion on this. It was fun while it lasted, but something different. Tag team division needs to be bolstered. That's just my thoughts coming out of last night. I don't know if that's a for sure thing. I don't know if it's even a possibility, but that was something that when I was watching, I'm like, dang it, why not? And it'd be kind of cool to have Braun standing behind LA Knight cutting promos. They can really play on that tag team dynamic. Braun, the big, quiet, strong enforcer, and LA Knight, the mouthpiece in a way too. You get a little bit of the best of both worlds. Either way, though, at some point, we got to actually see that confrontation between Fatu and Strowman. They've got to lock up. We got to see what that looks like. Speed versus power, the whole nine. Anthony, what was your opinion on it? All of it. And yeah, I mean, any thoughts on what I kind of mentioned about the potential tag team run?
I mean, that would certainly give LA Knight and Braun something to do because I really don't think they have much for either one of them at this point. They're just kind of throwing them in there. I know I've been a very big proponent of the Bloodline storyline as a whole. Very, very pro that story. And I know a lot of people were concerned after WrestleMania 40 that, they compared it to Marvel's Endgame. Are they going to be able to keep the momentum? And Marvel really wasn't able to do it other than like maybe 3 movies out of that. There were decent coming out of Endgame. I kind of feel like the Bloodline's the same way at this point. I'm kind of done with it. They had the blow off with Solo and Roman over the Fala thing. But as a whole, the only positive coming out of that is Jacob Fatu. He is probably the best talent that they have brought in. Tama Tonga, close second. I think Tama Tonga is interesting, but Jacob Fatu is the gold standard here. I don't think Braun is going to beat him on Saturday at main event. I think you got to push the momentum. Jacob Fatu, to me, it will be a world champion sometime this year. That's my. I can't imagine he wouldn't, barring an injury or something outside the ring derailing him. I can't imagine you would deny that guy with his momentum a world title ring. He's going to have one before Solo does. I truly believe that. I'm kind of done with the whole Bloodline thing. I kind of want Jacob Fatu to just squash Solo at this point and just move on. I don't see anything in that. And I'll be honest, and that's me just being honest with this. Braun and LA Knight is a tag team. Yeah, I could see it, the odd pairing. I mean, you got nothing else going on with them. So, but the thing is, SmackDown probably has some teams. Raw probably needs teams, to be honest.
That's a very
They
good
probably
point.
be better on Raw, to be honest, because
That
Raw
is a
doesn't have much.
Very good point. Or maybe you slide a team over from SmackDown to bolster Raw and then sort of not replace, but
that would be the team.
That'd be the only other one.
Because you could do them against the Viking Raiders.
Or that'd be fun.
The War Raiders, rather. No,
absolutely.
Again,
and I'm inclined to agree with a lot of what you said there about Jacob Fatu. And I'm also interested in what if Solo accidentally costs Fatu against Strowman, and that's the seeds planted for that. I wouldn't hate it.
It was a very weird segment. Solo walks off, and then Jacob cuts a promo And then it was a very weird thing, but like they kind of need to end it now. It's done. There's nothing left in the tank. You didn't inject the Rock into it, so it's kind of like it's floating there, but nobody cares at this point. You've gotten all the juice out of that.
You're not really getting back to a spot where they have true direction.
Correct.
So it's like they're yes, they're still a huge threat, but they're wallowing in a way. If that makes sense.
It's NWO went on too long.
That makes sense. At least they avoided the adding 50.
Correct.
We didn't get Hikuleo and Zillow and just trotting out new members and passing out T-shirts like it's nobody's business.
Which they could, considering the line of that family.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so we've got a little extra time here too. Archie, do you have an opinion on how do we solve this sort of the new bloodline and the direction headed into the future? Do you have any ideas on that?
I think Anthony's right. I think the thing is with this is I think you just need to, as quickly as possible, have Jacob and New Bloodline turn on Solo, because I think we just need a fresh direction for this story now, because Jacob Fatu, as Anthony said, is world champion material, and 2025 now is the time to really just unleash him and give him his breakout year. Because we've seen glimpses of what Jacob Fatu can do, but we haven't seen, the scary part is we haven't seen his full potential yet. And I've got a feeling that WWE might be fast forwarding his singles push, because if you've noticed, he's starting to cut more promos now. Well, the past 2 weeks he cut a promo last week. He cut a big promo in front of the crowd this week, which I'm not sure he's done before, except from saying "I love you" Solo and actually in front of the crowd.
Right.
And I think now is the time. We just need to, as quickly as possible, have Jacob turn on Solo and just launch him into superstardom.
It's my favorite cliche, Archie. It's strike while the iron's hot. Mm-hmm. Strike while the iron's hot, right? And it's interesting too. You brought up, the more promos and everything, and sort of the ascension of Jacob over the last month or so, month plus, right? Essentially, since everything's been sort of paid off with the original bloodline and whatnot. I also think it's interesting that new gear he's wearing with it's kind of like a cutoff t-shirt vest combo almost. It does make him, I don't know if it makes him look bigger, but there's a physical intimidation factor that is even different, and his aesthetic is different than the rest of the new bloodline now. He used to sort of dress similar, right? He'd have the t-shirt or whatever it was, right? They were a little bit more matchy, for lack of a better way to put it. And you're not seeing that as much. He's starting to stand out amongst the group more than he already did because of his look. Now he's standing out uniquely in how he's dressed as well. His demeanor has always made him stand out, like the movements and everything.
They're definitely putting a much bigger focus on Jacob, and you can see that with Triple H. He posted a bit of the rehearsals of WWE, and you can kind of see he was kind of showing Jacob what to do. They're putting a lot of focus on Jacob right now, which is why I think that solo run's coming very, very soon.
I think so too, no question. And that's no pun intended, by the way. That's not a solo run. That's different. You mean singles run, I believe. I'm messing with you, Archie. I know. It just cracked me up because obviously solo run applies, and I'm just like, Solo Sikoa, come on there. Do that corny jokes all day long. Nothing corny about this, though. I got to talk to my friends really quickly about something we really love over here at WR, and that's Progress Wrestling. And if you haven't checked out the Demand Progress Plus app, what are you thinking? This is one of the best tape libraries available. You can see some of your absolute favorite wrestlers cut their teeth in the business, some all-time matches. It's got all the history. Not only that, the current chapters just keep getting better and better. It's one of the best promotions on this planet. And better yet, my friends, I'm going to give you a discount. So use this code WatchProgress1 to get 50% off your first month on Demand Progress Plus. That's the home of Progress, Defy, and many more promotions. Check that out one more time on that code. That's use WatchProgress1. 50% off your first month. That's half off for those of you that prefer fractions to decimals like myself. Totally worth it. Check it out. We assure you. And one more thing to add. You don't want to head over to the App Store, whether you got an Android or an iPhone like a normal person. Download the Itsy app on either the App Store or Google Play. Head over to the upcoming streams section. We have all kinds of good stuff going on. And not only that, you're going to love this. You want to argue with me about Cody Rhodes? You want to argue with Ben about whatever you want to argue with Ben about? All kinds of other content creators. You can actually jump in as long as you've got a phone with a camera and we can hear you talking, and you can hash it out with us for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depends on how long it takes. And it's an absolute blast. But one more time, head over to the Itsy or the App Store or the Google Play Store and download the Itsy app. Upcoming streams, create that profile. Give me the follow. I'll follow you back. I promise. And with that, though, let's keep the show rolling here today. Let's talk really quickly about the Motor City Machine Guns. I'm from Chicago, so we've never really liked Detroit, but that's neither here nor there. I am a fan of the Machine Guns. They're one step closer to DIY, which of course stands for do it yourself. I just love reading the acronyms out fully. That's me. I don't know how you can do it yourself if you're a part of a tag team, but that's an argument for a different day. I'm just saying it's always been a conundrum to me. I'm not exactly sure why the Guns had to earn their way back all the way to a shot at DIY. It's fine with me, though. Big win over Garza and Humberto, and I enjoyed the match. I enjoyed the Machine Guns. Talk about tag team psychology. They might be the best in the business. Shh. If you're another tag team, I didn't say that, but seriously, they actually might be from an in-ring psychology standpoint. They can wrestle probably both directions. We haven't seen them as heels really in the WWE, but we have in various times in their careers. They can make you laugh. They can make you cry. They can make you happy. They can make you sad. And that's one thing I got to give a monster shout out to the Machine Guns. Big win yesterday. Archie, I got to get your thoughts on it here out of the gates. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, another week and another fantastic Motor City Machine Guns tag team match to the surprise of no one. The thing is with the Guns is they've just been an exceptional addition to the SmackDown tag team division, haven't they? Because before they arrived, the tag team division, it had the talent there, but it was struggling to really kind of pique your interest. But since the Guns have arrived, it's just been a completely fresh addition to the SmackDown tag team division with their quick title win and their rivalry with DIY. And now, for me personally, I'll go as far to say that each week on SmackDown, the tag team division is one of my most look forward to parts of SmackDown each week. And I think although I understand that maybe it's a bit odd they have to earn their way back to another title match, I do actually like this story of them having this struggle to earn their way back, because what it does is it not only does it give us a chance to see the Guns wrestle each week, it gives a good spotlight for all of the tag teams in the SmackDown tag team division. You're talking about Pretty Deadly, who's actually involved in an actual storyline now, rather than the ongoing Pretty Deadly musical, which I know Ben's hoping comes to fruition, but I don't think it actually will. And then you've got Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. I like them as a tag team. I don't know, where they're going to be. I don't know how long they're going to be together. And then obviously you've got Los Garza as well, who they face. And I think Los Garza is, and they showed in this match, probably one of the most underrated tag teams in WWE.
I totally agree. And it's funny because I spent most of last year complaining about tag team wrestling, Archie, right? Mm-hmm. And the outset of this year is starting to look better, especially on SmackDown. It is. You just mentioned, I've been saying, just banging my head against the wall, saying out loud, just make a real division. And you just named more than one contender, not just more than one, a handful. And that's all you need to build a good tag division. And the psychology of tag team wrestling allows for rule breaking in a different way than singles wrestling does, right? It allows for a lot of storytelling. And I just think it's been a missing piece for a lot of promotions. So I'm really glad you broke that down the way that you did. Anthony, I want to get your opinion on that too. Tag team division is sincerely getting better for SmackDown. And I got to admit it, as much as I've been harsh on it, It's getting better. I think the machine guns are a big part of it. But as far as the future is concerned, do you see them reclaiming those titles that they lost?
I think as a whole, and Clark, you were on the same show I was when we were complaining about the tag team wrestling. As a whole, in wrestling as a whole, tag team wrestling has really was taking a backseat. When we were complaining about it, that was 100% the case. I think Fraxium on NXT has really helped that significantly. And I think the Guns really was an injection into the SmackDown tag division where you're really starting to see the focus again of tag team wrestling, whether it's Pretty Deadly, where it's Los Garza, the Street Profits floating around. There are a number of teams. SmackDown probably has the best tag team division in all of wrestling right now. I know that bar is incredibly low at this given moment, but they're doing things the right way. I think this is going to lead to possibly maybe a gauntlet match at some point with the teams on a big stage, or maybe a ladder match. I don't know, because they have so many teams, and I don't know necessarily you want like 12 people in a ladder match at a Mania. I don't know if you want that, but you can get 2-3 teams, maybe 4 at the most, and you can kind of make the most of those things. Motor City Machine Guns DIY, they kind of go together perfectly. They're very similar styles. The Motor City Machine Guns set the template that every team after them followed. I mean, they really are the pioneers of that. You know, a lot of people will go, "Oh, the Bucks." Wasn't the Bucks. It was the Guns. The Guns started this.
Yes.
You know, to me, that's so the two of those teams feuding, and then Street Profits are going to get thrown in there at some point because they're going to want revenge on both teams at this point, because they just want the titles. They want respect. And I think they're going to get it. I think this is one of those things that this is how you infuse the tag division. And, I know it's a little side thing. If Rey Fenix was not tied up with contractual issues, my thought would have been WWE would have brought in the Lucha Brothers for Raw to do that there, and then do that. And then eventually you get the matchup of the Guns and Lucha Bros for the first time or whatever.
The Lucha Bros, to me, and you mentioned them, I cannot wait for the reunion. You mentioned the Young Bucks, and they were great in this match too, but one of the most incredible matches I've ever seen live is that All Out 2021 cage match between the Bucks and the Lucha Bros. And the Lucha Bros, I'll never forget, that cage was taller than the WWE cage, and I was sitting on the floor. And this is the only time ever at a pro wrestling event, and I've seen some gnarly stuff, right? Darby Allin busted wide open right in front of me and everything. Rey Fenix climbed that cage and was looking down at everybody. And yes, I'm 5 feet lower than the ring on the floor and whatnot, but looking up at where he was, my stomach turned. I was like, please land this. Please. Like, I got so nervous. That image is burned into my brain on that leap. The guts it took to jump from there.
Rey Fenix is one of those performers where everyone talks about who's going to be the next Rey, who's going to be the guy that takes that crown. I think it could be Rey Fenix. If he's put in the right position, he could be the guy.
What scared me, and just quickly, because we do have a little time, what scared me about that one is, so Rey was not the only one of the 4 that got up on the platform on the top of the cage in that cage match. It was about 4 to 5 feet. I'm guessing, I don't know the exact figures, taller than a standard WWE cage, the cage that they had for that match. If you go back and watch, it was
15 and 20.
It was a
15
very
and 20
tall
probably,
cage.
yeah.
And they had these cables in the corners you could hang on to.
Yes.
Every time there was a spot that went up there, the guys were hanging onto the corners. Nobody but Rey went fully off of it.
Right.
Not only did he do that, he walked across the platform like a tightrope without touching anything. I was worried about him falling sideways.
You could not pay me enough to do that, but yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I was terrified, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, like, I love watching professional wrestling, especially live and in person, and I do get wrapped up emotionally in it. That's what you're supposed to do. You suspend disbelief, just like you do in an action movie. That's how you watch pro wrestling. And so I'm not saying like I don't usually react, But this was one where I'm like, there was no illusion. I was fully like, oh no, don't fall, please don't. What are you doing? Like I couldn't believe he was doing the things that he was.
Yes,
Is the best way that I could explain it. Also, we've got a really sweet comment here from our friend over here, Jamie AF. Really enjoying Archie on here. Hope we'll be on more. We assure you, Archie will be on here. Absolutely, my friend. He's been excellent. We've been begging him to be on for ages. We finally get him. I'm stoked to have him always. And yes, he's got the open invite, of course. But I gotta ask y'all what time it is. Yep, looks like it's still Tiffy time. Tiffany Stratton and Bayley. I thought this was a very cool first matchup for Tiffany as far as defenses are concerned, because we all know how legitimate Bayley is. She's a horsewoman for a reason. She can work. I talk about it all the time. People that can work as baby faces and heels equally well are just that dang impressive. I do want Ding Dong Hello back someday soon, because I think that's where she's at her absolute finest, because it is annoying. And then she goes out and puts on 30-minute classics with whoever you put in front of her. And that makes it less annoying. And part of the annoyance makes the story matter more, because it makes it easy to root for the other side. And I think she's as good as at needling not only the fan, but the babyface as almost anybody, including like names like MJF, names that can really, the heels that can really get under your skin. And obviously Punk's not one now, but when he was, yep, right there in that category, right? Max is there. You know, there are different types of heels, right? There's the more brooding one. Then there's the one that's just going to, Christian Cage right this second as the father figure, right? That's just going to bother you. Just going to bother you. And that's where I think Bayley's at her finest. I think she's doing great right now. I really enjoyed this match. We got a prettiest moonsault ever. Tiffy's the winner. I'm super curious, though, as to who we're looking at for Tiffany Stratton as far as challengers are concerned at Mania. I did enjoy the match last night. I want to get your thoughts on it out of the gates, Archie, as well as, do you have a name in mind?
Well, I think we might have seen a video package of a certain Charlotte Flair, which could come into play at WrestleMania season. Obviously, we don't know when she's going to be coming back. Could be the Royal Rumble. But if I'm having to predict Tiffy's next challenger at WrestleMania, I'd probably go for Charlotte Flair, or I'd put good money on Charlotte Flair being her opponent. As for this match, I thought it was a really good match. Bayley being Tiffany's first title challenger was a really good decision, because Bayley is someone that's been quite closely knitted to Tiffany since her main roster debut. In terms of, you know, she's been involved in quite a lot of milestone moments for Tiffany in the main roster, where she was part of her first title match at a Premium Live event at Backlash. She's part of her first Women's War Games match, and now she's, you know, her first title challenger, which I think, as you said, it shows just how WWE see Bayley as a very reliable wrestler for them, and how she's trusted to kind of take these rookies, you know, so to say, that's just got called up to the main roster, and kind of take them under her wing, and, you know, kind of show them the ropes a bit, because the main roster is very different from NXT. As I said, the match was I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think Tiffany showed once again why, and it's probably a big statement, but why she's one of the best women's in-ring wrestlers in WWE right now. And, you know, I absolutely believe that. And one thing that did frustrate me about this, though, is Roxanne Perez's involvement. And I know it might have not been the best way to kick off Tiffany's title run, to not have her win this title match clean. But it just kind of felt like a waste of flying Roxanne out there to San Jose to just kind of, you know, sit there and watch Bayley lose. Whereas I feel like it would have been a lot more beneficial for her to, you know, cost Bayley in some sort of way, because although the base of the story's there for Bayley and Roxanne, where, you know, Bayley used to be a role model to Roxanne, it's, you know, there needs to be something more. And Roxanne costing Bayley in San Jose in the main event of SmackDown title match, that's a perfect way to turn the heat up on this rivalry. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed by the lack of involvement of Roxanne other than just kind of a stare down with Bailey midway through the match.
Wait,
personally.
they were at San
San
Diego.
Diego.
Right?
They were at San Diego. They were in San Diego. For
You're
right.
good.
Yes.
Well, no, I was only going to say because San Jose is closer to Bailey's hometown. So I was going to say if they did do it in San Jose, that would have. No, you're totally fine. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
I was you're because the point still stands. Even
Yes.
San Diego, it's still California. It's still the point still stands, Archie. I just wanted to clarify on that one.
Mhm.
But I love what you said about that with the Roxanne stuff, especially given the role model aspect. Roxanne coming to the main roster now, it looks like, right? And it's funny
Maybe.
because I don't know. I don't think it's for sure yet, but I do think it's kind of imminent. We had a great comment on, we do off the air, me, Shot, and Drizzy on Tuesday nights. And we had a great comment the other day about like, I'm really hoping we get Monday Night Roxanne. And I'm like, you know what? Now's probably, she's done about everything she can in NXT. Last night was Friday, and I get that. It's not the same. But Monday Night Roxanne sounds pretty dang good. It sounds pretty dang good, and I do think she's ready. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I just quickly on that with Roxanne. She is 100%. I'm obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm an NXT reviewer, and
Yes,
Roxanne has been
the.
Roxanne has been probably the highlights of my reviews most weeks. She's definitely one of the best women's wrestlers in the world right now. She's 22 and carried that women's division on her back. She completely deserves to get called up, and I think Bailey's the right rivalry for her to have her first rivalry on the main roster for sure.
I agree. The only concern I have and this is what I want to really ask Anthony about, because I agree with everything you said there. Here's my problem is I was the biggest complainer in the world about Damage Control because I'm a huge Bailey fan, not because I didn't think it was good or whatever, because I'm a huge Bailey fan, and it did not benefit Bailey. It benefited everybody but Bailey. It was the NXT crew came up. They never explained why they were friends. They never explained which damage they were exactly controlling. Bailey represented the two of them and really got Io over, as we saw, and Dakota on her way did a decent job. Bailey stayed about where she was, if not lower than where she was before Damage Control. And I enjoy and I agree with what you said about, Tiffany Stratton is one of the best athletes in all of women's wrestling. But she is also relatively new to the sport and everything and new to the main roster. Bailey's the perfect one to help bring her along as a first opponent. But we just also laid out the same scenario about Roxanne. And I do not want Bailey to get stuck in this loop where Bailey versus Charlotte isn't put on a poster material, because it should be. They're both horsewomen. They're both equally successful. They both helped build this division. That's my only fear, is if she gets stuck in this cycle where she just continues to bring along the new talent as they come in. In mixed martial arts, we call that a gatekeeper. And I have a bit of that fear. And that's something I wanted to ask you, Anthony, about. Do you have a similar fear with Bailey? Or do you see this as it's just smart usage and we always know we can get back to Bailey at the top of her form and at the top of the industry?
Here's the thing with Bailey. Bailey is the type of talent that, I don't want to use the term good hand, but she's that utility player. She doesn't need the title. She's over, but she pretty much is in that Natalya Dolph Ziggler position, which is, we know you can get a great performance and we know you can put other people over. Now, that may be the sweet spot. Maybe Bailey, that's what she wants to do. She loves the industry. She loves to get back to the industry. She's been women's champion. I don't know exactly what she wants, if she wants that position or not. But, it's kind of funny because I remember when the horsewomen started, or the rumblings of the horsewomen in NXT, it was always Charlotte, Sasha, Bailey, then Becky. Becky was the one that was on the back end of a lot of that. And it was kind of funny because I remember back then going, I like Becky the most. And considering the way Becky really developed, it's kind of ironic now that she's kind of she's arguably the top one of them. You can argue with Charlotte with the reigns and stuff like that, but as far as over, but Bailey is somebody that can help get people over. She can help get Tiffany over. Like we said, the Damage Control thing, they never explained why they were together, but secretly, if she was in that position to get others over behind the scenes, to try to get them bigger stars. I could see that. You're leaving a mark on this industry. There are plenty of people that have been in that position that essentially get people higher up the card. So, it's an unsung hero position without a doubt. But you can easily put her in world title spots. It's not an issue with her. When you look at Roxanne, a first opponent feud with Bayley, that helps get her on a map that, for the people that don't watch NXT and don't know, Bayley can help elevate Roxanne. I think it's a smart move from a logistical standpoint. You teased it on NXT, you teased it on SmackDown. Likely it will continue in the Rumble, would be my guess. If I was honestly guessing, either a double elimination or Roxanne gets eliminated by Bayley, and then she helps to get Bayley eliminated herself, and they continue on. I think that's going to happen. I could see they might not get a WrestleMania match, but I could see Roxanne's last match in NXT being at Stand and Deliver against Bayley, assuming you can't get AJ.
That's a very good call.
Essentially the AJ Lee position. Like I said, if AJ Lee came in, that should have been that spot. But Bayley, I could see that.
That's a good one.
Because when you think about it, Bayley, Stand and Deliver wasn't around by the time she was on the main roster.
No,
they were still doing takeovers.
You think about Takeover Brooklyn, Stand and Deliver became a different, a different brand. And no, actually, Anthony, I think you're very onto something there. And I think it makes a lot of sense. I really do. Go ahead, Archie, really quick.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that if this is how they call up Roxanne, then this is potentially probably one of the most natural call-ups that we've gotten in recent years, because it's not just a random segment where she's signing a contract.
It's very fair.
Office. Straight away you're giving the fans, a reason to be invested in her character.
All right, guys. With that, though, that brings us to the end of today's show. We could talk about this the rest of the day, but there's all kinds of stuff for everybody to do. So go do that stuff, but do come back same time, same place tomorrow. That's, of course, noon Pacific, 3 o'clock in the East. That's 8 o'clock in the UK, and, of course, 9 a.m. for my friends in Hawaii. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Saturday on behalf of me, Clark Taylor, Arch, and Anthony, and everybody here at WR. We will talk to you soon.